Hello, this is Jacey Zembal of the Wolfpack Central, part of Rivals.com's network. This is day 2 of NC State's coaching search, and the content is flowing on the site. The message board is jumping. Great time to sign up for 50% off for new subscribers for the rest of the year. So if you're going to do it, great opportunity to get all the scoop for all the different things that are happening. And there's going to be tons of cool stuff after the coach gets hired. So, what is day 2 about? We're going to go about assistant coaches. So, not everybody is gung-ho about getting an assistant coach as a head coach. But in this particular case, he's a very unique candidate. Former NC State point guard Justin Gainey is currently an assistant at Tennessee. I was adding up the one-loss record of Tennessee while Gainey has helped out Rick Barnes. It's pretty staggering. They are 1-4 and 34 over the last few years with the Gainey-Barnes combo. And it's been really cool for him because he's been able to coach his son, Jordan Gainey, the last 2 years with the Volunteers. So Justin Gainey played at NC State from 1996 to 2000. He famously played freshman year all 40 minutes, all 4 games in the ACC tournament. He basically has given his blood and guts and soul to NC State basketball. Then he also worked at NC State back when Sidney Lowe was the coach. So he has the perspective of that experience. But this is what's really cool about Justin from you look at his resume. Not many coaches can say they are popular with the people that have been associated with him like Justin Gainey has. Think about this. He got hired by Sidney Lowe, a former NC State player. He's worked for Sean Miller at Arizona, a former Herb Sendek assistant coach. Herb Sendek himself hired him at Santa Clara. He's got the unique perspective of he has worked for a Duke graduate in Steve Wojciechowski at Marquette. He's worked for a UNC graduate in Jason Capel at App State. He's worked for a Davidson graduate with Matt Matheny at Elon. I mean, everybody, he just needs to work for a Wake Forest graduate one day. I mean, he's that popular that it transcends school rivalries. So, why is an assistant coach an interesting dynamic? Well, I looked at the top 25. There's a handful of coaches who went from head coach or became head coaches after being assistants. You have Tom Izzo, who was kind of a coach in waiting a long time ago, to Judd Heathcote at Michigan State. You have a very unique arrangement where Matt Painter coached at Southern Illinois, became an assistant coach at Purdue where he played, and then took over for Gene Keady. You just recently had in the triangle, John Shire takes over for Coach K. Now, 3 years ago, maybe, or say 4 or 5 years ago when Coach K was pondering, who would take over, maybe it would have been Shire, but he went from assistant to head coach. And then the fourth assistant, kind of an assistant, is BYU coach Kevin Young was an MBA assistant and didn't have he had G League experience, but he never had been a college coach. So those are your top 25 coaches. Izzo Painter, who again a little different because he did the Southern Illinois stint for a year or two, and then Shire, and then Kevin Young. So now you look at the ACC though. This is what the trend has been. It's not just Shire. Hubert Davis slid over 1 seat to follow Roy Williams. Adrian Autry slid over 1 seat to follow Jim Boeheim at Syracuse. In a theory, Jeff Capel went from assistant at Duke to Pittsburgh. Again, different though, because he had been a head coach at VCU in Oklahoma. And then the 2 recent hires, Jai Lucas had never been a head coach. He just went from Duke assistant to Miami. And Luke Laux had never been a head coach, and he's taking over at his alma mater, Florida State. So that part is what's unique about this transition if you go from assistant to head coach. In Gainey's case, he knows the roster for NC State. He coached against NC State a year ago. So, he has a perspective that is different. I'm sure as an alum, he has watched a lot of NC State games over the years. I know that he was involved in watching the Final Four last year. It's not just It doesn't die when you move on to a new school. It's always in there. He's originally from Greensboro Day High School, where he learned from Freddie Johnson, who just happens to be maybe the all-time winningest coach in high school history in North Carolina. So add him to the list of mentors over the years. So that it's a little different with Justin. You know, he'll have a perspective on who to recruit right away in the state of North Carolina. He's already landed at Tennessee, basically the top Rivals.com ranked player 2 different years for North Carolina. First, it was Jonas Adu, who's a Durham native, and then Fayetteville native Freddie DeLeon. So he understands how to recruit the state of North Carolina. He knows all the travel teams. He knows the high school coaches. So it's a little different with Justin Gainey compared to some of the other candidates. And I really believe that in theory, because of his background and institutional knowledge, he'd be able to hit the ground running. So, you know, that's kind of like the dynamic where he's a little different than, say, Ryan Odom at VCU, or even, you know, Will Wade at McNeese State, or whoever else emerges in the search. But if you're going to go with an assistant coach, I think Justin Gainey is that exception because of that background. You know, player, he's coached on the NC State. He knows all the people involved at NC State. It's a little bit different. And then if there's a little bit of a carrot on top, you know, not only has he learned from Rick Barnes, who, you know, NC State has tried to get a few times in past coaching searches, but the Tennessee athletic director is Danny White. Why is that important in all this? Danny White is the son of former Duke athletic director Kevin White, the brother of Georgia coach Mike White. Mike White, Kevin White, Danny White, they're all connected with Boo Corrigan and his family. So that kind of makes it a little different because, you know, the White family is not going to steer Boo Corrigan in the wrong way. So that's kind of like how my synopsis is of the whole candidacy if he ends up with Justin Gainey. Like I said, pound all the socials, 50% off on Rivals.com. Pack Search. Big time Pack Search is the promo code. Go for it. 50% off for all new subscribers over the next year. This is Jacey Zembal of the Wolfpack Central. Thank you.